I know I'm keeping you from coffee, so I'll try and be as engaging as possible in the time we have. The World Coal Association is very pleased to be able to participate at the 9th PetroCoal Congress, organised by Dr. Garg and his team. The WCA has had the honour of speaking at the Congress for a number of years now, and we look forward to continuing our engagement. From this morning's presentations, we can all appreciate the challenges and opportunities that we face across the fossil fuel industries. Not only in India, but more widely in Asia and globally. In this session, I would like to talk about the positive contributions delivered by coal. Coal is too often seen as the problem, and rarely seen in the more positive light as the leading source of energy. There are significant opportunities to improve its performance, as we've heard, and provide benefits to local communities and the environment, particularly in developing countries and economies in transition. To begin, I'll just take a few moments to talk about the World Coal Association. Established in 1985, the World Coal Association is the only body that represents the coal industry at the global level. Membership is open to all coal stakeholders anywhere in the world. WCA's present membership is diverse, covering all coal-producing regions and consuming countries. As you can see on the slide, our membership includes many of the world's largest coal producers and related stakeholders, including national associations. The principal objectives of the World Coal Association is to promote the merits of coal by providing a voice for coal in international debates on energy and the environment, improving awareness of the importance of coal as the single largest source for fuel for the generation of electricity, widening the understanding of the vital role that metallurgical coal plays in fulfilling production of steel, ensuring decision makers and the public generally are fully informed on the advances in modern, clean coal technology. Advances which are steadily improving the efficient use of coal and greatly reducing the environmental impact. And finally, supporting others involved in worldwide coal, including national coal industry associations, the United Nations and the International Energy Agency, in emphasising the importance of coal and its qualities as a sustainable source of energy. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, across the world, coal is a critical building block of development. Energy is a key input to economic growth, prosperity and living standards. Economic development and enhanced living standards are closely linked to access to energy. Without energy, the wheels of industry are not enabled to turn and gain momentum. Coal delivers a quarter of primary energy consumption worldwide. Most of global coal production is destined for the electricity market, with steel and cement the other two dominant uses. Coal is one of the most cost-competitive fuels for the production of electricity. Close to 40% of the world's electricity is generated from coal. In India, estimates show this share rising to 3/4, a similar portion to that of the other coal-rich countries such as Australia, China, South Africa and Indonesia. However, the role of coal in development goes beyond electricity. More than 70% of the 1.6 billion tonnes of steel produced last year used coal as a key component. Likewise, coal is a critical ingredient for 70% of the world's cement production. Coal has always been a critical enabler of development in the modern world, and this is not going to change for the decades to come. The world, however, is working to adopt a more diverse energy mix, with different fuels and different challenges. There are huge changes happening in the way electricity is delivered. Different sources of energy meet different needs. Some are best suited to baseload generation, others to peak load, and others to meeting environmental considerations. A diverse mix of energy sources, each with different advantages, provides security to an energy system by allowing flexibility in meeting each country's needs. Some people believe, particularly since the Paris Agreement, that coal is being phased out. Yet suggestions of a transition away from coal are at odds with the role it is expected to play in many countries for decades to come. As we can see in the pie charts, coal will continue to play a vital role in the global energy mix. In the International Energy Agency's most recent new policy scenario, which incorporates all of the climate pledges announced by governments, coal is predicted to generate 26% of the world's electricity in 2040. Many are surprised to learn that while the size of coal's share in the energy mix reduces, in absolute terms, coal actually generates close to 10% more electricity in 2040 than today, and retains its position as the single largest source of electricity globally. Mr. Chairman, we are watching a significantly different energy situation for coal between regions. On one hand, we have the North Atlantic, Europe and North America, and the other, the Indo-Pacific. The centre of gravity of the global energy economy has shifted. In 2000, Asia was responsible for just under 50% of the world's coal imports. However, in 2016, according to the International Energy Agency, the region imported close to 3/4 of the world's coal. Economies beginning with China, India, and more recently joined by South and Southeast Asia, are looking to coal to fuel their growth. Reflecting this trend, this graph shows our analysis of planned or projected coal plants globally to 2040. The black line in this graph is coal capacity in China, India, and Southeast Asia. The rest of the world, largely developed economies, slightly but not dramatically reduces its coal-fueled capacity. As you can see, as with the global economy, the centre of global coal power generation is shifting to Asia. In the US and in Europe, this trend is often ignored. And so the challenges in these regions lead to the belief that coal is going away, when what is actually happening, like everything else, is it's changing. So how can we explain this rapid demand for energy growth, and therefore coal? Over the coming decades, as the world works to realise the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, urbanisation is forecast to rise dramatically. People will move to cities for greater economic opportunity, modern amenities, and access to education. Cities are the most productive places to do business because they bring firms and customers and workers together. Well, what does this mean for you and I? As part of this urbanisation, we expect cities to take in another 2.5 billion people, with nearly 90% of this increase concentrated in Asia and Africa. In 30 years from now, 62% of Africans, 65% of Asians, and 90% of people in Latin America will live in cities. This is huge growth compared to the urban population of today. Urbanisation drives demand for coal products. Steel and cement are fundamental to the infrastructure needs of an urbanising world. A world that urbanises needs buildings, bridges, and roads. Urbanisation is driving demand for these products globally and will continue to do so for decades to come. Coal is a critical provider of modern necessities such as power and light. Coal will therefore have a long-term role. The variable to its use will be technology that developers choose to deploy, and therefore the emissions profile of the global coal fleet. This might look familiar from the previous slide, but from the previous presenter. But I'll step back from energy and coal demand now and spend some time exploring what this means for climate policy. The World Coal Association has been involved in the ongoing negotiations on global climate change since they began in 1992. In late 2015, a new watershed moment came at COP21 in Paris with the Paris Climate Agreement. The agreement sets out a global action plan to put the world on track to avoid dangerous climate change by limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees. So how can coal contribute to minimising its contribution to climate change? Predictably, there will be a package of possible options and solutions that will need to be considered. HELI technologies are a cost-effective way to increase the amount of energy that can be generated from a coal plant, while decreasing emissions and delivering on the Paris Agreement. Moving the current average global efficiency rate of coal-fired power plants from 35 to 40% by deploying these more advanced technologies, we've heard can cut 3 gigatons of CO2 emissions. To put that in context, that's around the annual emissions of India today. Modern high-efficiency plants using supercritical and ultra-supercritical technologies emit 25 to 30% less CO2 than their older subcritical technologies. These clean coal technologies give significant efficiency gains in power generation. Clean coal technologies also include a much broader array of techniques which enhance both the efficiency and the environmental acceptability over the whole coal value chain, from coal extraction and preparation through to end use. These technologies reduce emissions, reduce waste, and increase the amount of energy gained from each tonne of coal. The United States provides an interesting case study of the possibilities. Between 1970 and 2016, the US coal fleet reduced emissions of nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, and airborne particulates by as much as 93%. Today, newer technologies can also achieve 90% removal of mercury from coal to levels that are so low they are nearly undetectable. HELI programs are being vigorously pursued by many economies. 24 countries have identified a role for low-emission coal technologies in their climate pledges, or INDCs. They were submitted as part of the Paris Agreement. Coal is very much part of the Paris Agreement. With India among them, these countries together produce around 50% of global emissions. Common global objectives and energy needs highlight the potential for coal-reliant countries working together to widen the deployment of low-emission coal. It is for this reason that the World Coal Association is promoting the benefits of HELI technology for reducing carbon emissions as part of the global climate change response. Greater collaborative action on efficient technologies could drive everything from increased levels of R&D to improve policies among the multilateral financial institutions. Carbon capture and storage, or CCS, can provide the biggest quantum leap in CO2 emission reductions. It is widely accepted that carbon capture and storage is a critical climate technology. The International Energy Agency estimates that 14% of emissions reductions by 2060 must come from CCS. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has said that action on climate change could be 138% more expensive without the technology. CCS can reduce greenhouse gas emissions from existing coal plants by up to 90%. It is clear that CCS is a critical climate technology and offers a longer-term option beyond efficiency improvements for achieving near-zero CO2 emissions. Currently, India is home to one of these projects. An unsubsidised, fully commercial CCS facility has been operating since 2015. The CCUS project from Carbon Clean Solutions in the port of Tuticorin has been able to significantly reduce the costs associated with capturing the CO2. Introduction of technology can bring huge rewards, but there is a cost. Only a fraction of the reducing emissions can be achieved by industry alone. However, governments, industry and international agencies will all be required to maximise the outcomes. In the recent past, the multilateral development banks, including the World Bank, have adopted policies that exclude coal from their lending portfolio. Inclusion of cleaner coal technology could ensure access to technology, training and finance. India could receive more energy from each tonne of coal burned, and emissions of CO2 would be reduced to the benefit of the global community. Delivering the type of win-win situation that ties in with the theme of today's conference. Denying the developing and emerging world access to energy is not a responsible option. Helping to deliver energy in the most efficient manner, consistent with a country's social and economic development, is responsible. The World Coal Association would encourage the coal industry here in India and elsewhere to make representations to governments for the coverage of clean coal technology in the multilateral development banks and climate negotiations. Coal is very different today than the public perception suggests. Innovation and technology have delivered a range of solutions and answers to efficiency and environmental issues. We need to show that the coal sector has the capacity to provide the outcomes that are significantly different from the popular view held by many in the public. That coal remains an environmentally challenging fuel. All sectors of the coal industry must work together to market the cleaner coal technology to local, regional and national policymakers. As we continue discussions over the next few days, I urge you to consider the role that HELI can play in supporting energy security and economic development in India. Thank you.